Hey everyone, this is Disc Junkie and welcome back to Secondhand Sickness. And so today we're shooting another indoors video. You can see that I'm already at my reviewing table and we are essentially just going to go through some of the online finds that I have made recently. And I know I'm not making too many sort of car boot sale videos these days, but it's, just not the season, so you'll have to make do with what I find online. But I do have quite a fun batch today, and I think we're just going to get into it. So the first thing I want to mention is essentially probably the least interesting, but it is a book which is called Self-Defense. And the only real reason for why I picked up this book is because I suspected that it might have been a book which was advertised in one of these magazines. And I know I talked about this in the previous episode of this series, that I have this general interest in a publisher known as Kurt Håson, and there's this magazine called Veckans Brott. And I tried to find like all of the books that he published. And one of the books which I've been trying to find is called Self-Defense. And that's a very sort of generic title and I can't find much info on it. And then I saw this listing on one of the secondhand online bookshops or marketplaces. And I thought maybe this was the book that was advertised. But I don't think that it is. Even so, I thought I would mention it. It is essentially a self-defense book from, let's see what it is, 1967. And it's just like a very sort of hands-on, no pun intended, sort of instructional booklet with, just sort of various images to show you various types of self-defense. And I think this was essentially made by a couple of policemen or ex-policemen, if I don't remember incorrectly. It says that this book is written by a policeman. His name is Stig Bergman, and he's one of Sweden's foremost experts on self-defense, and the technical advisor on the topic for the Stockholm police. But then again, this is from, like I said, the 1960s. So I don't think he's working today, but yeah, just an odd little book that I decided to add to my collection. And this was pretty cheap. I think I paid something like €4 or €5 plus the shipping. Now, another book which I found online, which also relates back to my previous episode in this series, is an X-rated title. So sorry about that, but it is an illustration, not an actual photo. But this is the book. It's called En sjöman till sängs, which would be a sailor in the sack, sort of, if you translate it. It was written by a guy named Stellan Wik. On the cover, his name is actually misspelled. It's supposed to be last name with 2 I's, but here's just one. So, in any regard, this is also a book which I picked up on account of the fact that it is published by the Elephant Press, which is like an early company that was run by Kurt Håson, and this also has a sort of joint copyright, I think, if you check it. Yeah, it essentially says copyright by the Elephant Press and Kurt Håson. So this was sort of like the company he had before he sort of got more into sort of branding his company with his own name and stuff like that. So yeah, this was just an odd book which I found, which I didn't own, and I wanted to add this to my online digital library, where I tried to showcase all of the books published by Kurt Håson. I've actually made some posts about this online because I've essentially launched my website on the topic. So I might come back to that in a future episode. Haven't really decided. But, it's all in Swedish. I'm not sure how interesting it would be. But if you follow me on Facebook, you'll be sure to find a link to that site there. Yeah, and this book also was not too expensive. I think I paid something like €10 maybe. And obviously with the shipping costs and all that. But that's essentially all the books we got. Now, for the rest, we're going to talk about primarily videotapes and DVDs actually, which is not something I talk about too much these days, but you know, it's still something that's very sort of close to my heart in regards to collecting. And the first thing I want to mention is a couple of Star Wars tapes, because I essentially picked up these, and these are the 1997 special edition releases for VHS. Now, I know that more commonly these were presented in a sort of collector's box set, and there were essentially two versions of this collector's box set. There was the silver and the gold variation, and I'm just going to bring out the silver variation, so I'm sure you'll recognize this. And this is something I got way back some time ago, and it's a really cool looking box set. I just love this, and it's quite a nostalgic design for me. But this also came in a gold standard, so the silver would be the widescreen variation, and then you had the gold, which was like the full screen at the time. And so I've been meaning to get the gold version for quite some time. It's not hard to find. It's actually quite cheap, but it's hard to find in great condition. So I'm still looking for that in the gold variation, because I really like to have these box sets in good condition. So I thought it would be a fun addition. But the reason for picking up these is because I found these online, and that's when I realized that I wasn't really aware that these releases actually came out in clamshells as well. So in these boxes versions, they always come in the cardboard slipcase variation, but they're exactly the same as far as the content goes. But yeah, I did decide to actually pick up these clamshells for the gold versions, because I didn't have those, and I don't think we're gonna, you know, they're videotapes, and I don't think we need to go in detail on them. But yeah, these are the Swedish versions, so you have the Swedish titles on the covers, and yeah, I don't think we have to talk too much about these. These are very, very sort of well-known internationally. Like, this is a box set and a variation. I think you had the clamshell editions internationally as well. So these are definitely no rarities. I didn't pay much for them at all. I forget now even what I paid, but yeah, it wasn't a lot. Let's just leave it at that. And the clamshell versions are also available in the silver variation. So here we got a couple of the silver ones, which are just, you know, identical, but in silver, and then it's widescreen. So just a side note on that in regards to the gold and the silver color. But next up, I want to mention something which is very unrelated to this, but also quite a nostalgic thing for me. And that is, this is kind of come out of left field totally. So yeah, that is this, which is a, I believe, 90s, 80s trope. And it is, as you probably know, if you recognize this, the dancing Coca-Cola can. And so I don't remember exactly when these came out, but I remember them very fondly from my childhood. I actually had one of these as a kid, or actually two. I had one which does the same thing as this one. Let me just put this on to show you. And this is sound activated, so put it on. And then when I talk, you can see that this guy should dance. Thank you. Yeah. So I love these, and they're just, I mean, it just makes you happy. And I know these came in a couple of different varieties. I had this type as a kid, which just does a little back and forth. But there was also a more advanced version, which had a small wheel at the bottom. And he essentially did like these little spins, like sort of dance move spin. And I don't have that. This is the only one I have. And I got this just recently. I think I paid something like 13 euro maybe. But when I got it, I realized that these little sun shades are actually different from the ones I remember, because the one I had as a kid, which broke many years ago, for some reason I actually threw that away, but I saved the glasses. And that's something I realized now when I got it home, that he had these ones, which are more sort of sporty. They still have the side view with headphones on, but I'm also wondering if my version that I had was bigger, or maybe this just gotten warped with time, but it does feel like this might have been a slightly broader variation, but I don't know. It doesn't really matter, but I wanted to bring that out just to show you. And so this was a fun addition. I would love to place this on display in my little toy shelf or my little sort of general pop culture type shrine, which I think I've shown in one of the Man Cave of Madness videos. But yeah, so just a fun little toy thingy to add to my ever-growing collection of junk. Not sure where we're gonna place you so you don't roll off. All right, let's just leave it there for now. So next up, we are going to run out of space on the table. Sorry for the glare here, but I have like multiple LED panels lighting things up, so it's hard to avoid glare. Let's see what we got. All right, I can continue with this one. And this is something that's obviously no news to most people who follow the channel, but I am a very big fan of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, most of the time, I don't tend to find much on the Swedish eBay or Swedish eBay equivalent, but I spotted this one, which is a release I actually own. I believe this is from Hong Kong or China. And yeah, this came partially sealed. And the only real reason for why I decided to pick this up is because this came with a slipcase, which is something I had not seen before. And as you can see, just a standard slipcase with the standard keep case underneath. And so I actually have this version, but I didn't have the accompanying slipcase, which I didn't know existed. So a lot of the time you will see variations and first pressings and stuff where you have a slipcase, sometimes you don't. So I don't think there's anything wrong or incorrect or sort of, it's not like my version is incomplete, but apparently this also came with a slipcase at some point. So I was really happy to add it. And generally, let's see, I'm trying to remember what I paid. It was a bit more than I wanted to, but I think I got this for something like 25 euro thereabouts, which is, I think it's an overprice, but at the same time, I've never seen a copy with a slipcase, so I was definitely happy to have this. And to my surprise, when I opened this up, check the front cover, this is actually signed. So that was definitely something that made it more collectible. This is actually signed by Gunnar Hansen, and seeing how he has passed away now, sadly. This was several years ago, obviously, but even so, you know, you're not going to be able to get new signatures by Gunnar Hansen. So yeah, that was definitely a cool surprise. And it's signed on the insert, I'm sure. Just want to confirm that. I think it is. Yeah, it's signed on the insert. So yeah, definitely a fun surprise and a great addition to my ever-growing Texas Chainsaw Massacre collection, even though I've taken some sort of decision generally to not buy too many new versions, really not sort of spending too much money on the 4K editions, because, you know, let's be honest, I just can't keep doing that, seeing as it's just too much money. I mean, you can't spend $300 on a single 4K release. I mean, it will ruin me and will ruin me. So I will probably just continue to focus on some of the more obscure versions if I can get them for cheap. But in any case, let's move on to talk about some other rarities actually. And I especially want to focus on a couple of releases that haven't actually gotten ported to Blu-ray, as far as I know. And the first one is something called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. This might not be a title which people are familiar with. It is a slightly obscure comedy series, which is just, I mean, I don't know where to begin with this. It's just a absolutely brilliant and strange, I want to say parody actually, which is a bit odd because it feels like it's not really mockumentary, but it's weird because it takes place in like this hospital, which is called Dark Place Hospital. And this feels like very much a parody of let's say, like The Kingdom, or you know, something out of Twin Peaks, like this small sort of weird community, and there's just this bizarre sort of stuff happening with like the portals of hell, and you know, it's just this sort of center hub for bizarre things happening. So I mean, it sort of makes me feel of, you know, thinking about stuff by David Lynch or Stephen King, or you know, that kind of sort of bizarre horror story. But what's weird about this, I mean, the show is essentially sort of, I'm sorry, it's so hard to put this into words because it's such a weird show. Okay, so each episode of the series essentially opens up with this guy who is called Garth Marenghi, and this is a fictional character, but the basis of the story is that Garth Marenghi was like a famous horror author, sort of like Stephen King. I'm sort of thinking that kind of like the type of author we are sort of making a parody of in this case. And so each episode of the show starts with him sort of sitting in a sort of dimly lit workspace or office and sort of, you know, reading from one of his own books. And it's a ridiculous sort of monologue. And then he sort of looks up at the camera and is like, "Hi, my name is Garth Marenghi." And he starts telling the story about how he had a TV show, which was called Dark Place, that was made in the 80s. And that it was sort of crazy and sensational, and you know, that it sort of got banned from TV. And now he has been able to find these sort of lost master tapes or whatever, or film reels of the show, which never aired. And so now we're, as an audience, we're presented like, now you're going to see the lost show, which was like too strange for television or whatever. Like, this is like the lost show that never aired. And this is obviously completely fictional. There was never a show called Dark Place that was recorded in the 80s. This is all sort of make-believe. So it's sort of like a mockumentary in some sense, but at the same time not, because it's so obvious and over the top that this is fake. But it's just a hilarious sort of very, very bizarre thing. And what I love about this, which is a DVD release from, I don't know when this came out, see if we have a date on it. This is from 2006, but this is, I wouldn't say it's hard to find this, but generally it's not a show that was ever released in Sweden. And I don't think it has that many releases. I think it's available in the US and in the UK, but all of these are out of print now, I think. And so this is obviously a UK edition based on the rating. But what I love about this is that the parody and the sort of mockumentary element is sort of so detailed. Like, when you start this up, you will get special features where you have, like, for example, commentaries on all episodes by Garth Marenghi, Dean Lerner, and Todd Rivers. And these are all fake names of the actors and producers who are on the show. So it's like people are doing this in character. And just the fact, like, you have a Garth Marenghi website. If you check the cover, there's something labeled as Dean VD, which is also like, instead of the DVD logo, you have a Dean VD, because this fictional character was called Dean Lerner, is also like a character on the show, and he's apparently the producer of this old show. So there's all kinds of weird little nods and things, and it's, I don't know what to say about this. I can't praise it enough. And I think you can watch this on YouTube in its entirety if you just search for it. But it's a very weird and hilariously strange show. So now I've been rambling on this for way too long, but I just wanted to mention sort of the background of that. So now it's ported to Blu-ray, and I've been wanting to get this. I found it on Swedish eBay. Didn't cost me much at all, maybe like 10 euro or so. But it's very rare to see this on Swedish eBay, because it's not really a release which I think is very well known in Sweden. So yeah. Now another release which I got, which is also not ported to Blu-ray, which is extremely unusual, is this next one. And this is a film I've been wanting to see for many years, and it's called Begotten. Now I'm sure horror fans will know what this is, but it's an obscure film by a guy named E.A.L.S. I can't pronounce this. And this is something that came out in 1989. This is a 2001 DVD release from America, which was made by World Artists. And the reason for why this is such a difficult film to find, for one thing, this is like the only official DVD release that ever came out, but there has been a multitude of bootlegs of it. And by today, it's extremely difficult to find an authentic copy. But I am quite sure, 99%, that this is an authentic copy. And I'm just briefly going to mention why. Because you see, there are many copies of this circulating. Many of them are even sealed. But if you want to find an authentic copy, and once again, this is me kind of speculating, but as far as I know, this is an authentic copy. And the way you can tell, for one thing, you will have the spine on this, which has a red World Artists logo on it. And if you flip to the back, you will also notice that there is a DVD logo down here, which is a regular DVD logo. And it's weird that I would bring this up, but if you check reviews of this, you will probably find that 9 out of 10 times when people are unboxing this and showing it, if you look closely, you'll see that the DVD logo, everything else is the same, but the DVD logo is essentially inverted. I'm going to bring up an example of this just to show what it looks like. And also on these inverted copies, you also see that the World Artist logo is commonly blue instead of red. I have no idea about the background of why this is, but it seems to me like if one of these versions is authentic and one of them is a bootleg, it feels pretty logical that the authentic versions would be the ones with an official DVD logo rather than one that has been, I don't know, maybe purposely inverted. I mean, I don't know why this happened. It's so weird. But, I mean, we can also check. Not sure if you can see. Let's see if we can find this. See, I'm just gonna try to pull in on the numbering there. It might not be able to show there. I think you might be able to see the number, because I know there's info online about what the correct numbering is. It's very hard for me to see in the glare of the camera, but yeah. So this comes with a DVD. This is an American pressing. So I think, can't remember now if this is region 1 or actually region 0, but I'm pretty sure this is an authentic copy. And it also comes with a small booklet, which, yeah, there's not much to say about this. I'm gonna flip through it, but it's a very bizarre film, very underground. And I mean, I haven't watched this yet. I haven't had time because I just got it in the mail, but I wanted to throw it into this. But I'm very interested in watching this because it's definitely like a cult movie, which is, you know, oftenly described as one of the sort of creepiest things people have ever seen. And so really happy that I got this. I found this on eBay. Think I paid something like 70 or 80 bucks to get it here, which is a lot, but trust me when I say that finding an authentic original copy, which is not a bootleg, that is not a bad deal. So yeah, I was really happy to stumble upon this and realize based on the photos that yeah, this might actually be the real thing. So definitely happy about this. And then lastly on the table today, I want to mention another one which is fairly unusual, but probably not considered too much of a collectible to most people. And this is a Swedish VHS release of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake version with Jessica Biel. And so I found a VHS copy on this. I don't think this was particularly collectible back in the day because it's one of those later era releases. I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 2004 or 2003 actually. And this is copyrighted 2004, but the film premiered in 2003, unless I'm misremembering. And so this is a pretty standard large clamshell VHS rental. I'm not entirely sure if this is available on a retail version as well, but I think it is. But I really don't see this a lot. And I think I paid something like, what was it? Maybe between 20 and 30 euro for this, I think. But it's one of those releases which is pretty hard to find these days, and I didn't own it. So yeah, I was really happy to add this to the TCM collection, just because I think it's one of those sort of releases which will become more and more difficult to find as time moves along. And yeah, I just thought it was well worth to own. But this is pretty much it for today, and gonna need to push things together if we're gonna get everything in frame, and maybe not the best angle on everything, but you know me, I just like to put things on display before we finish up. And this is gonna slide out of the thing there. Whatever, let's just leave it as it is. So yeah, this is essentially it for my entire lot today, and I hope you thought this was informative and fun and interesting mix. Yeah, okay, I'm rambling, let's just wrap this up. So that's it for this video. I want to say okay, I want this in frame. There we go. Okay, so that's it. I want to say thank you very much for watching, and as usual, hope to see you all next time. Ja, men vad fan, glömde jag den där. Okay. Alright, so I'm back. Sorry for this brief sort of sign off. But thing is that I actually have one more thing I want to show you. This was sitting off to the side and I sort of forgot about it. And it is this thing which I already own a couple of, but I wanted to show it anyway. And this is a Playboy Playmates puzzle. There's a variety of these. I think these are from the 70s, and it's actually from 1967. I hadn't really checked the copyright year there, but yeah, 1967. And these come in the same sort of size, but there's a variety on the cover in that usually they would have like different color schemes to them, but the photographs and like the thingamajig illustration thing is usually the same, just different colors for the logo. And so what this is a puzzle which you could get through the Playboy magazine, and it's essentially a sort of nudie mag puzzle. Oops, sorry. So if you open this up, you can see that you have a can full of puzzle pieces. And there's also a small little fold out. Now this is gonna be uncensored because, I mean, come on. But I'm just gonna show it quickly, and there's a small fold out here which will show you the sort of image that you're building with the puzzle. And so these were made, I think, for like, I don't know if they were with each issue. I'm guessing not, because that would be a whole lot of puzzles, but there is actually quite a large variety of these. I think I own maybe like 2 or 3 from before, but it's a very fun sort of novelty from the 60s and 70s, and I just wanted to throw this in here before I ended today's video. So yeah, if you tuned out early while I was just jabbering on about nothing to sort of try to fit everything in frame, then you might have missed this little nugget. So hopefully that will make you learn a thing or two. Never finish Disc Junkie video early, because then you will be left out of, yeah, whatever, now I'm rambling again. But now the video is really over. So I want to say thank you very much for watching, and as usual, hope to see you all next time.